So, hey everybody, welcome back to Radioactive Inc. I didn't really have a, snappy intro for this one, but I did just want to say that since it is the month of October, Game Chat will be covering horror games, specifically for this month, and I don't mean like your Resident Evil type of games, those aren't horror games. I mean your truly terrifying games that on your first playthrough make you so paranoid, you gotta turn the lights on. But, with that, let's start it off with one of our favorites, huh? We're looking at Dead Space 1 today, here on Game Chat.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
So, Dead Space 1 was, honestly, it was a terrifying game on my first playthrough, because like a moron, I put it on the hardest difficulty, played it at midnight, shut all the lights off, and had surround sound. Now, the game was extremely unique with a lot of things. For number one, it put you on a spaceship, which meant that it was close quarters fighting quite a lot of the time. It also had a very unique style of dealing with the enemies. It wasn't as simply as just, taking out their heads. You had to pretty much dissect their body in order to kill them. And every enemy was unique on what weaknesses they had. Now, I will be showing images, around the screen for you guys to, look at as it is. Now, okay, so let's start at the beginning here. You are Isaac Clarke, an engineer, not even remotely supposed to be able to handle this in any way, shape, or form. Second off, you are fighting this infestation with mining tools. Not actual, weapons, mining tools, because everything on the Ishimura, except for the pulse rifle is technically a weapon, but everything else is a mining tool used to, mine large chunks of rock, ore, and so on. Now, let's look at some of the enemies here. Now, these things will give you nightmares. There's just no possible way to get around that simple fact. These things look like they crawled out of Satan's anus and managed to find a way here to Earth. But through, all the different ones that you see, all the, different sizes that there are there, at the end of the first one, you come across the Hive Mind, as they call it, and that's not even the biggest one. They get the size of moons, or there, whichever way I put it. They get the size of moons that sleep for ages and ages and ages. Now, as to where these originated, there is no solid definitive answer, but they come from the marker. They are drawn to the markers. There is a black marker and a red marker. Yes, I am going to have those in specific order. Black marker, red marker. So, now these act as basically data hub storages. One transmits, one receives. Now, nobody exactly knows where the original marker is. Nobody has found that yet. But there is a race come in the third game that, gets a lot more detail to that. But starting at the first game, it is phenomenal with its sense of paranoia that it puts you in. The game knows how to use these horror tactics effectively for the type of style that you have to play through. Shadow casting of enemies that may or may not actually be there. Shutting out the lights in an area, forcing you to kind of back up into a corner and hope that nothing's coming at you. And be it that the enemies can come out of anywhere, you are on constant alert, because you may end up falling under attack. Now, I will tell you this, there's not a single vent in that game that I didn't shoot after the first two missions, because I was incredibly paranoid that every time I walked past a vent, there was going to be a monster popping out of it. And this was amazing, because that's what a good horror game is supposed to do. It's meant to, seriously mess with your head, warp your mind on everything, and honestly, make you afraid. And then the specific enemy types coming at it, now obviously they get tougher and tougher as the game goes on, but with each one, you know, when you heard certain sounds, you knew there were enemies close by, and you knew you had to be ready. So ammo was a constant must. Now, if you were like me, you used the plasma cutter as much as you could, and then saved the good ammo later on. Excuse me. Now, one thing that really captivated me about the game was the, you know, just kind of... I loved it and I hated it both. It was kind of the simplistic thing of an A to B run. It was like, okay, you're starting here, you go here, then you have to turn around and come back because this is your transportation. But you don't get to come back in the same way. Now, I both liked and hated that because it kept you on point. It really was an action horror game, which kept you on point for what it was you were doing. But also, I'm not big on like A to B kind of thing. That's why I never really get into a lot of zombie games, because it's always A to B. There's not really much free roaming aspect about it. Now, one incredible factor of this game is the crew members that aren't dead yet. You know, the ones that have lost their minds. Like, when I got to the infirmary and the nurse was there cutting open the guy who was still alive, and when you finally get up to her, she laughs, slices her own throat, and drops dead. At that moment, I proceeded to put down my controller and walk away for about 10 minutes, because I just... playing it at like... at that point, it was around 1 in the morning when I got to that, because I kept dying a lot. And at that point, I was just like, I cannot do this. That was just really a bit much. And I think that's what really adds to, you know, the sense of distress within the game, is that you really don't know what's coming at you. And you feel like the longer you're there, the worse everything's gonna get. And one of the greater aspects of the game is the unique deaths. Each creature has a unique way that it kills you. And if you're unlucky enough to, you know, get caught by these creatures and experience each of these deaths, there's actually an achievement for it. But it's really unique that each one has a specific way that it kills you, which is phenomenally creative. It's not just as simple as, oh, it, you know, rips off your head or anything. No, there's actually a lot of very unique deaths to this one. The really tall, slender guys that I probably showed the image of already. If the head of that body kills you, it will rip off your head, proceed to insert itself into your body, which is one of the more gruesome deaths of the game. It really is. And, you know, overall, would I sit down and play Dead Space again? Yeah. I've probably run through it about 8 times, because that's just how much I love the game. Now, it doesn't have the same effect as the first initial run through, because, well, you know where everything is now. You know what to expect. You know what's coming. But doesn't make it any less of a great game. So, and I think it's something to really look on, because just because you beat a horror game doesn't mean that it doesn't have replay value. Because running through Dead Space all the times that I did, I was able to find more and more stuff that I didn't really bother to look for on my first playthrough, just because of that, you know, initial fear factor that it had, which was honestly remarkable. It truly was. But I don't know, maybe something to look forward to in the future. So if I do want, before I close this out, I do want to say that I'm happy Game Chat has been met with a very nice response. I noticed that, you know, there's a lot more views on this than any of my other videos, and I have to say, I'm so incredibly happy to see that, because I'm loving this series. Sorry, like, this whole half of my face just went dark as soon as my computer screen shut off. Now, next time we will be covering Fear. Yes, the Fear games will be the next Game Chat episode that we will be covering. Now, don't forget, for later episodes of Game Chat, if you want to recommend a game that I should cover, leave it for me down there in the comments, so this way I can find it, I can, get started on it right away. And until the next time, everybody, don't forget to leave me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you like, game chat as a series, because I'm enjoying this, and I think I'm going to get out one game chat every week. And don't forget to share the video around with your friends. And until the next time, I'm Fletcher Stump with Radioactive Inc., signing out.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech, you'll shake and shudder.